In this lesson of How to Excel, we will look at how to make a choropleth tile map. Something that hopefully looks a bit like this. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to do a choropleth tile map. Now, that's not a map like this one. This is a regular choropleth map, which is based on geographies, which is really great because it shows us a very accurate geographical representation of things. The problem is when we have really big countries and really small countries, sometimes, well, the small countries get lost. I don't know about you, this is high definition, and even then, I'm not sure I can see where are the island countries like Sao Tome or Capo Verde. If you kind of mouse over a bit, there must be over there, hidden over there. Sao Tome, I don't know where it is. I think that if we find over here, we've got Mauritius. If we get the mouse just exactly right, well, so that's not very helpful for Afrobarometer in the sense of you do work with some of these geographically smaller countries. So one of the ways that we work to overcome that is through what we call a tile map. And this is an example of a tile map. And the first thing that you will notice is that everything is exactly the same size, which means that we can now actually see what Mauritius is, or Capo Verde, or Sao Tome. Having said that, it's also quite clear that this isn't quite geographically accurate. We've had to make some decisions as to what lives next to each other that are just a part of working with these sorts of maps. It's impossible to keep complete geographic accuracy, but we've done our very best. So, for example, Egypt is above Sudan, which is above South Sudan. Now, Uganda is actually below South Sudan, and that's not quite where Rwanda is in relation to Uganda either. But, you get the general idea. You're able to generally find the country that you're looking for. So the way that we can work with this map is actually designed to be very easy. At the moment, there are basically three things to keep in mind. If you don't want data to appear, so if it's a country where Afrobarometer doesn't work, for example, and you want it to be grayed out, it's really important that the data that you enter is 9999, and then that has changed it into a percentage. So that is, 999,900%. It is very important that if you want that to be grayed out, that you use those numbers. Otherwise, you see we have a list here of all of the different abbreviations, the country, and then the data point. So if we wanted to say that Algeria had, let's say, 37% of its population agreed something, I just hit 37, and you can see that Algeria is now updated and turned a slightly darker color. Here, I'll actually do this so it's all in the frame so you can see it. So keep an eye out for Algeria. If we put in 11%, it goes quite light. If we put in 97%, it goes quite dark. And the same is true, it's quite straightforward. It only allows for one number at any given time. So Benin here we have 2%, maybe we knock that up to 65%. And you would go through and you'd do this completely for example, for a year, all of the people who agree something or are satisfied with something. And then maybe you could copy and paste this whole thing or save this as a completely new workbook and create something for 2016. And then you can compare the maps next to each other that sort of way. Now, there are a few things that we might want to edit, because right now this is set up so that you can put in any number between 0% and 100%, and it will show you exactly what you're looking for. But what happens if we put in minus 54%? Oh, well, minus 0.54, let's see. Well, that just looks like a regular 0, basically, to me. See, it looks very similar to Namibia's 1%. So how might we actually change this color scheme? Everything here is controlled within the conditional formatting button right here. And without necessarily having anything selected, we can go to Manage Rules. And right now it doesn't show any rules, but we've seen before, if you go to Show All Rules on this sheet, we have what we actually need. Now, there are 3 different rules here that we are using throughout. And if you click on where they are, you can see that there's one that's the bottom of the grey, and kind of one that is the top side where we actually have the name of the countries there, the abbreviations anyway. What is more important is our graded color scale, which again, if we want to double click, we see that we have a 2-color scale, and I've just said a kind of light yellow color going to one of the darker orange colors. And similar to what we did before, where we set the scale so it's a number from 0 to 1, so it's a percentage, so 0 to 100%, we could actually do it from -1 to 1. And we could make this a proper divergent color scale and say, maybe let's go from a red to or an orangey red to a teal blue. And now we can see Algeria is definitely in the red, and the other ones are positive. And that's one way of actually doing that. The other thing that we could do if we wanted to is right now this is set up for percentages. If you wanted to change this, which by the way, you can change this to a 3-point scale if you wanted to, so maybe as it goes through 1, as it goes to 0, it's back to that sort of yellowy color, rather than something like it was before. If you'd like to use this map in a Word document or a PowerPoint, I have gone ahead and I put a little bit of a border around it for you, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to use. And similar to what we've done before, if you're on a Mac, you can do Command-Shift-4, and that gives you the ability to actually select an element of the screen for a screenshot. Or if you do on a Mac, Control-Shift-3, that does the entire screen, in which case you want to maybe zoom in a little bit on the map just to get it as big as possible, and then do Command-Shift-3. Similarly, if you do print screen on a PC, it will grab a full screen screenshot, or I do recommend the built-in Windows app, Snipping Tool, which can be found in your accessories. Once you have the screenshot, you can move into Word, and you can just put it straight in there if you have the version that gives you already a cropped version. Or if you need to crop the version, you can go ahead and just pop that in there. And we can see that it is there. Select it on the ribbon bar, select crop. Crop. And there we are. We can always resize that to make that bigger. Or if we had several in a row, we could make them smaller and we could show 2015, 2016, 2017, that sort of thing. And that is how to work with choropleth tile maps.